You've got ideas, you've got ambition, you've got no time, or so you think. I'm Marissa Lonick, and I help busy moms with big dreams and no time. Join me each week as I dive into time management strategies, goal setting and achieving framework, and inspiring guests who are juggling mom life, work life, fill in the blank life. Dreams don't work unless you do, and just because you're a mom doesn't mean you can't still make it happen, whatever it means to you. Welcome to the Mama Work It podcast. Hey, mama friends. Welcome to another episode of the Mama Work It podcast. So glad you're here. Very excited to introduce you to our guest, Rosemary Clark, today. When Rose was newly married and in her early 30s, she found herself on a therapist's couch and totally burning out at work. It was there that she learned that she had come from an abusive childhood, and her need to push herself so hard was rooted in trying to earn something that seemed out of reach her whole life, feeling her parents' love. During her time in therapy, she became pregnant with her first child. When she became a mom, her insecurities were magnified, which started triggering unshed tears and unexpressed anger. Rose felt she had two choices: fall into the abyss of repeating what her parents did, or learn completely new ways of parenting. Rose will forever be grateful that she stumbled upon language of listening, a parenting model that not only allowed her to become the mom she always wanted to be, but also allowed her to reparent herself. Now, as an authorized language of listening coach, she specializes in helping moms who had difficult childhoods and gets them to a place where they love the way they parent. Rose, thank you so much for being here today.
Oh, thank you so much for having me, Marissa.
Great. Well, first things first, why don't you tell our listeners a little bit more about you?
Yeah, sure. So I'm a mom with two little girls. I live in Nova Scotia, Canada. I'm married to my best friend, Steve. I actually have a degree in opera singing. That's what I studied in school. But I always liked that idea of, having something in my life to do where I'm really supporting other people and helping other people. And I think for me, when it comes to the parenting coaching and language of listening, like I always knew what kind of a mom I wanted to be. I had it all worked out in my head, like I wanted to be um, that kind of mom whose kids could have their own thoughts and feelings and opinions. And I wanted my kids to have a really close emotional connection with both their parents. And I talked to my husband about this before we got married, and he agreed, and I thought I was set. I thought I was all set, just having that figured out in my head, having those thoughts and making that decision. But I didn't have the tools. I did not have the tools. And so when the rubber hit the road and I had, two little ones and the yelling started, I was like, something's not right here. So I started looking for the tools, and I found them when I found language of listening, and I will be, forever grateful.
Wow, that's awesome. So I think so many of us, even those who don't necessarily come from abusive backgrounds, can relate to the fact that there are certain aspects of how we were parented that we may not want to repeat when we become parents ourselves. And besides that, we just want to overall do the best possible job we can as parents. So I'm really intrigued by the language of listening style of parenting, and I'm really a novice too at this. And I think probably a lot of our listeners may be too. So can you tell us more about this model that you use and teach called the language of listening?
Absolutely. I'd love to tell you more about it. So, the model is really, the goal is really to bring out the greatness in children. And it really allows us to bring out the greatness in ourselves and in everybody as well. It's based on play therapy, positive psychology, and transformational coaching. And it's three simple tools, four beliefs, four premises, and three simple tools that work together to get you creating new mental pathways. And really allows you to be the one in charge, um, but while maintaining emotional connection with your child. That was a big one for me. Like really wanted to be able to hold my boundaries. You just have to. You have to have boundaries as a parent, right? But I also wanted my kids to have that emotional connection, and like I said at the beginning, to have their own thoughts and feelings and emotions. So I can dive into the tools and the premises a little bit if you'd like.
Oh, I would love to.
Okay,
Yeah.
great. So the first premise, the first kind of thought or belief is that everything children do and say is communication. and they must continue to communicate until they are heard. And so we can know this and know that, sometimes our kids' behavior is not what it seems, or it's not always a message about exactly what's going on in the moment, that there's some sort of a communication there. And the communication is always about getting needs met, needs for growth. So the tool that we use that goes with that is a tool that helps us to start to understand. It really goes well with the name of the model, language of listening, in the sense that it's a way to speak that gets you listening, And so the tool that we use is a tool for connection, and it's called Say What You See. And you literally reflect back to the child without any added thoughts or opinions or judgments or anything like that. You just reflect back to them like a mirror, anything you see them saying, doing, thinking, or feeling. And it helps the child to feel understood, but most importantly, it gets you understanding your child, because when we really understand somebody else, we're going to respond to them in a different way. So that's the first piece. And from there, sometimes that's all you need is to say what you see, especially if the child's behavior is all about meeting the need for connection. Sometimes that satisfies their need for connection. And then there's two kind of directions you can go from that place. And we just basically say, are you seeing behavior that you like? Or are you seeing behavior that you don't like, right? Which area of your boundaries is the behavior falling into? So the second premise and the second tool goes with behavior that you see that you like. And the premise says that children have every possible inner strength, and they act according to who they believe they are. And so the tool that we use there is a tool called strengths. And the strengths tool is very powerful, because really, if you want to see your child's behavior change, you just change their belief. I mean, that's what the premise says, right? Children act according to who they believe they are. And so that's simply that's what we can do. And that's simply what the tool does. So you always use Say What You See first. And that gives proof of the strength, because we need that proof, that proof and that grounding. And we pass that on to our kids. First time I used the tool was when my youngest was 3, and I wanted to just focus on the strength of helpful with her, to train myself how to use the tool, And so I just said, hey, Emily, could you bring me a butter knife from the kitchen? And she brought me a butter knife. So I said, you brought me a butter knife from the kitchen when I asked. There's to Say What You See. And then I just said, that shows that you're helpful. Simple as that. And the neat thing is that I kept on using that strength that day, because I was trying to work it out, And the third time I said it to her, she said, Mommy, you keep saying that. And I said, yeah, it's just something I'm noticing about you today. The fourth time I noted that she was helpful that day, and she's 3, she dragged a chair up to the kitchen sink. And she knows that at that point she knew, and she knows still now, of course, but she knows that I have hypothyroidism. And so I can tend to be, have times when I'm very tired. She dragged a chair over to the kitchen sink, and she said, Mama, whenever you're tired, I'm going to help. And I'm going to help right now by washing the dishes. And so I helped her
Oh, wow.
run a sink of dishes, and there she's acting from that self-belief that was already affecting her. And this tool is really important, because it's different than praise. When we praise our kids, when we use phrases like good girl and good boy, and I'm really proud of you. And a lot of us use those because we didn't hear that as kids. And we really felt like we needed to know that we were okay and that we were good. And, those are the phrases that society usually gives us to express that to kids. The problem with praise is it's all about the parent's opinion. It's different when we're using Say What You See and giving proof of what the child has actually done. So that proof of their goodness, of their greatness, lives inside of them. And so they end up being a child who's making decisions based on self-belief, really positive self-belief. And that helps them a really lot. And then the last tool is the one that we use when we see behavior that we don't like, when we want some, a different behavior in our child. We want to correct them. And so the tool is called Can Do's. And the premise says that all behaviors are driven by 3 healthy needs: experience, connection, and power. And what children are doing is already meeting their needs. So we don't have to meet our kids' needs for growth. They're already meeting them. We can learn that from the premise. And the other thing that we can learn is that we can always trust intentions. So all behaviors are driven by 3 healthy needs. Doesn't mean all behaviors are healthy. Doesn't mean all behaviors are behavior that we like, but we can always know that our child is coming from a place, just a natural place of meeting their needs, because that's what we do as humans. We're always meeting needs. We can always trust their intentions. And we use this tool of Can Do's, where we just direct them towards, meeting their need in a way that falls within our boundaries, and in a way that that feels satisfying for them. So we invite them into problem solving. So when we use that first tool, Say What You See first, and we really validate them, or we just acknowledge kind of what's going on. So it might be like, you hit your brother, you really want to turn with that car. Then we would move into the Can Do's, because we don't like the hitting. And we would say, must be some way you can let your brother know that you want to turn without anybody getting hurt. And then that invites the child into problem solving because they're not the problem, right? A lot of times that we do the way that we parent is we make the child feel like they're a problem. I always say people can't be problems. They can only have problems. So it gets us focused on what the real problem is. And then we can invite the child into problem solving, and that empowers them. It's a way to hold your boundaries where you feel empowered because you know what to do, your child feels empowered. And then every time you use that can-dos tool, every time you hold your boundaries, you're going to move back into that second tool of strengths where you're going to affirm to them, you did this, that shows you're this, right? So you came up with a way to let your brother know you want to turn with the car without him getting hurt. That shows that you are, how to share, or how to get along, or whatever the strength is, that you feel that you want to kind of point out in that moment.
Gosh, this sounds just so simple to implement. I mean, it's not rocket science, but it is stuff that many of us probably aren't doing, right?
You got it. Yeah. That's really the founder. Her name is Sandy Blackard, and she just took those three pieces: that play therapy, positive psychology, and transformational coaching, and she distilled it down. She said that's what she needed as a mom. She needed it to be quick and simple and easy that she could use on the spot, and she just figured it out. And now she's sharing it with the world, and I'm so thankful that I get to be a part of that, sharing it with the world.
Yeah, that sounds really simple. I agree. And I think totally things we can easily implement even starting today.
Yeah.
So I love that. I want to talk a little bit about playtimes. You talk about playtimes in your teaching. So how do playtimes and the model specifically help the busy working mom who's juggling lots of things, but still wants to find the time to slay their goals, whether that be directly related to more deliberate playtime with their kids, or just a personal or professional goal they want to do and spend their time fulfilling? How can you do both? Can you fit this all in?
Oh, you absolutely can. And the model can totally help you with both pieces for sure. At the beginning, I talked about how the model is all about bringing the greatness out in kids, and that it brings out the greatness in us too. And it really does that, because those tools I spoke about, those premises, those apply to us, to ourselves as well. And right now I'm actually running something called the Real Self-Care Challenge, where we're not focusing on parenting at all. We're actually focusing on the moms, and we're working towards not just like what that regular kind of self-care is that's like on the surface, but like getting deeper, understanding what your deepest needs are, and really living in alignment so that your mind and your heart and your actions are all in alignment. And this really allows us to make decision making very easy and quick. It starts to get us in a place where burnout just becomes not so possible. It lowers your stress in massive ways, allowing you to show up, allowing you to go after what you want. It removes the blocks that are keeping you, holding you back from going after you want. So I mean, the model really works for that. And then there's these play times. And these play times are 10 to 15 minutes long. You literally set a timer. All you need is Play-Doh and a timer, and your kid, yeah, you set the time, and you use those three tools I spoke about specifically, and especially that say what you see, where you get really, really deep connection time with your child, where they really, really feel seen and understood, using that say what you see tool, because that's really what we all want. We all want to be seen and understood. It's just really the basic want that we all have that really helps us to feel, alive. And so you can do that. You can do that in these 10-minute playtimes with your child using say what you see, and it gets you holding boundaries as well. Like when that timer goes off, the playtime's over, and so that's all you're investing, 10 or 15 minutes, and it sets your child up for not only feeling satisfied in their need for connection, but it allows that need for connection being met to kind of carry them through. Like if you're a work at home mom and you've got stuff to do and your kids are like kind of interrupting a lot, I find that just having that playtime with them in the morning, getting that need for them met, very powerfully in the morning, it stays with them. It stays with them. But the other thing is it gets you used to holding your boundaries in ways that are really empowering for your child. So as the day goes on and you need to hold boundaries with them, you know how to do it. You've been practicing it with them. You guys have this dance, back and forth of this is how the boundaries work. It's mommy's work time right now. You can do this and you can do that. All those can do's, letting them know what they can do, keeping them moving forward, because they just got to meet their needs, right? But they can do it within your boundaries, and it just flows so nicely when you use the play times and the boundaries that are worked into the play times naturally. Like I said, when the time goes off, the time goes off, and you get to see how your child responds to that boundary, and then you get to see how you respond to the way they react. And I've seen really cool things happen, like with toddlers, how moms have been able to use the timers for other things, and the toddler just loves it, and they just play into it, and and when the time is up, they're like okay with the time being up, and they'll move on to the next thing, and because they've built those strengths and those tools, through the practice. And so yeah, it really does help moms to have that time, and extra time, and especially holding their boundaries. And then just that whole idea of like the mom guilt can just disappear, because your child, you can just tell, you so many of the moms I work with and teach this playtime to, like they see a change in their kids, and they feel a change in their relationship and in themselves as well. It's really powerful.
Well, amen to that with the mom
Yep.
guilt. I think we can all use less of that in our lives these days. Does this work with all ages, or is it really more specified toward that toddler age group?
I would say ages 1 to 10 it's fantastic for. When we're talking about spending time with teenagers, we're using the same tools. We're shifting them more to focus on the strengths. And if your teen loves playing with Play-Doh, that's great, but maybe they like baking, or maybe they like going for a bike ride with you, or maybe they like something else. But for as far as the Play-Doh, ages 1 to 10, it's great. I have a 7-year-old and a 9-year-old, and I'll tell you, with my 7-year-old, she's had extra school anxiety this year. And having those Play-Doh playtimes, I take 10 minutes in the morning. I can have the Play-Doh playtime with her instead of fighting with her to get her clothes on, to get her to eat her breakfast, to get her snowsuit on. I live in Canada. It's cold here right now. I could spend well over 10 minutes. I could easily spend 30 minutes fighting with her to try to get her going to school and try to handle that anxiety. I just grabbed my language of listening tools. I grabbed some Play-Doh. We started having these 10-minute playtimes in the morning. And within the playtime there, she's meeting her needs. And what she's doing is she's meeting her need for power. I'll tell you what she does in a second, but she's meeting her need for power and her need for connection, which gets her anxiety handled and gives her the ability to just get out the door calmly in the morning. And what she does when she's meeting her need for power in the playtimes, I giggle because we watch the kids and we see what they do, because it really does tell us about what need they're trying to meet, which one is feeling like kind of like it's in a deficit in their lives. She has this little piggy finger puppet that she puts on and she brings to playtime, and it's my job to make cubes with the Play-Doh. And then the piggy, his name is Ketchup, he comes and he squishes all my cubes, right? So that's her meeting her need for power, and I play it up. I'm like, oh no, Ketchup, not again, you're squishing my cubes. And she's giggling and she's happy, and the anxiety, just she can handle it, she can get on with her day. And again, I'm not spending 30 minutes in the morning getting her ready for school. Not happening.
Yeah. I gotta ask though, why the Play-Doh?
Why the Play-Doh? That's a good
Yeah.
question. I mean, you could use other mediums. I've done it with kinetic sand, but there's just something about the Play-Doh where like there's so many possibilities of what the child can do with it. And you really just sit there, and the main thing that you do to say what you see about is mostly about their experience. What are they experiencing? So when we don't talk about really what they're making, we don't really talk about the end result. We'll just say like you're squishing it, you're rolling it, it feels soft in your hands. You've got this color over here, you've picked up that color, and it just really makes them feel seen. It makes them feel so seen. It really meets that need for connection.
But you want something sort of that they're diving in with their hands. Like you wouldn't want to replace this with blocks or Legos or anything like that? Or is it really up to your child's interests?
You could. You could. The Legos could work. It's a little more restrictive than Play-Doh, but doesn't have to be. I mean, a kid can do anything with a Lego block.
Yes, I can attest to that.
They can do anything. They can put it on their head and pretend it's a hat. They can, right? They can do anything with it. So yeah, Lego, I think Lego could work. We do, in language of listening, we do these longer playtimes that are 30 minutes that go once a week. And we have a whole collection of toys. So Play-Doh is one of them. Blocks can be one of them. A dollhouse with a family is one of them. Puppet is another one. Arts and crafts, like you could just put some arts and crafts things out on the table for your child, like just paper and crayons, and you can do lots of say what you see with that. I've had my daughter spend 20 minutes of the 30-minute playtime just drawing pictures and working out whatever's going on with her and meeting her own needs just by drawing pictures. But
Yeah. So
yeah,
there's a lot of flexibility in kind of what medium you use.
there is flexibility. Yeah, again, I highly recommend the Play-Doh, but you could definitely just know who your child is. Sometimes just picking the Lego might be them feeling seen and understood, and knowing them. Yeah.
Yes, we're big Lego fans in this house.
Okay, there you go.
Okay.
Can I just say though, Marissa, one of the tricks is
Please tell me.
is whatever medium that you have, it's only for the playtimes. This is one of the boundaries that you hold.
Oh,
So if you're
okay.
buying Play-Doh for the playtime, it's only to be used during the playtime. So if you're using Lego, you would have Lego this is only for the playtime and you don't play with it during other times. So that might make you think a little bit too about which
That
medium you
makes me
want to
think a
use.
lot
Yeah.
about the medium because Legos, like I said, are very popular. And if I restricted it to only that 10 minutes or 15 minutes per day, I think there would be a lot of upheaval here.
Yeah. So that it might not be you can play Lego with them another time, but you want whatever you're using. Same with the 30-minute playtimes. All those toys, they're only used during playtime. So it makes it really, really special. But again, it's one of those boundaries that you put in there, and you can just affirm for the child. If they see the Play-Doh up on the fridge, this is one of the things in the PDF that I offer as a freebie in my email list. The child sees a Play-Doh up in the fridge and they want to play with it and it's not playtime. You just validate the heck out of them using say what you see. You really want to play with it, and you let them know when they can play with it, which is you can play with it during the next playtime, which is tomorrow
Mm,
morning or whenever it is. Let them know when they can play with it, but you're going to hold your boundary and then practice, holding your boundary with kind of an imposed boundary, but it's not emotional for you because it's just Play-Doh that they can't play with right now. It's not them hitting their brother. That's
right,
a much more
right.
emotional feeling boundary to hold.
It's the premise doing kind of indirect work for other boundaries that you're hoping to set. Yeah,
You got it. You absolutely got it.
exactly.
Yeah.
Okay. Wow, learning so much during this conversation. Okay, so and I think I probably know the answer to this just based on what you said, but what is the one most important thing that moms need to know to ensure these playtimes are effective? Is it the boundaries like we just discussed?
It's not. Well, it's a boundary that you put on yourself, and that is consistency. You want to sit down and you want to pick when you're going to do these playtimes. And it can be different for everybody. It's different for every family, but you want to know exactly when you're doing them and you want to absolutely stick to it so that your child knows beyond a shadow of a doubt that need for connection is going to get met very powerfully. And you can always tell them when the next one is. So sometimes it's a work at home mom that does them Monday to Friday every morning because she wants the kids to get their need for connection met first thing in the morning. So she's got some extra space to get some work done. It could be a stay-at-home mom that does it every day when dad's gone off to work because she just needs to start off her day well. She needs a positive start to the day. Sometimes they're doing it when baby's napping, and you always want to do it's one-on-one, and you always want to do it if you have other kids, they're kind of looked after. It could be that you're a work outside of the home mom and you do it in the evenings before bedtime to connect with your child, or maybe you only do it on the weekends in the morning to start off your weekend mornings fantastically on the days you're going to be spending with your child. There's lots of options. You just want to really commit to it, like a doctor's appointment, and so that you can always tell your child when the next one is happening and keep your word because for kids and for all of us, I mean, this is what the pandemic did to us. It knocked us off our feet because meeting our needs was no longer easy and predictable. We had certain needs that were very easy and predictable. We had default ways of getting them met, and the pandemic knocked us on our butts.
Yes.
Right. And so
Yes.
this is what our kids need. They need this container of having these ways that they can depend on for getting their needs met. And that's one of the really important pieces that allows them to have that need for connection carry through. So you've got time and space to get your work done as well. And then using the tools besides that, like the boundaries and stuff, that will carry on to your day-to-day life. But again, that most important piece is that commitment that you make.
Yeah, I love this because I feel like me as a mom of four, I'm always feeling guilt about not spending enough one-on-one time with my kids.
Yeah.
And I think this is so attainable, 10 minutes, choosing one particular activity, maybe for each child, maybe that's different, maybe it's the same, it'll depend. But I think this is so doable and easy to implement.
Yeah. Yeah. And you know what? There's a lot of mom guilt out there for people that don't like playing with their kids. Sometimes that's really hard for moms to admit, and it's okay to admit that to yourself. If you don't like playing with your kids, that's totally okay. Because once you just kind of accept, there's one premise in language of listening I didn't talk about. It's the fourth premise, and it says all growth comes through acceptance. Once you can accept you feel that way, it's just how it is. No judgment, right? Then you can problem solve. Then it's fine for you to go ahead and say, well, but what can I do about this? And when you just got to sit there for 10 minutes, you can watch the timer, out the corner of your eye if you need to, but you've just got that anchor just going like, I just got to do this for 10 minutes and I've got the instructions. I just do this, say what you see thing, and then it's done. And I know that my child feels, pretty fulfilled and pretty satisfied. And so that's, yeah, so nice.
Yeah, it is. It is. So I'm all about taking small steps toward big change. And for me, after having this conversation with you, I know what I'm going to do. I'm going to do this. I'm going to commit to these 10 minutes a day, per child doing these playtimes. I think it's going to go a long way in my house. What's something that our listeners can do today, or a small habit that we can continue to do that will help steer us in the direction of the language of listening parenting style?
Yeah, so I would say it's kind of around that first premise. Everything children do and say is communication. If we can, as parents, kind of remove the role of judge and put on a detective's cap instead, and get really, really curious about what is my child's behavior telling me? What is it communicating in this moment? And a really, really simple way to do that is use this question from Language of Listening. It's called the Great Person Question, and you just simply, when you see behavior that you don't like, you can just ask yourself, why would a great kid do that? Coming from that belief that that kid is already great, there must be really, really good reason why they're doing what they're doing. Just why would a great kid do that? Really good way to just kind of start to handle your frustration and start to see them differently. Yeah.
That's a great question. Totally. How does someone interested in learning more about this style of parenting do that? Is there a specific book you recommend, or should they work with you as a parent coach yourself? Tell us more.
Yeah. So I do have a 12-week one-to-one program for moms where we work through the premises and the tools. So I teach you the art of using them in your specific situation. And we use them with you too. Again, I've kind of talked about, the two pieces, that it's about bringing out the child's greatness, and we bring out your greatness as well. And, when I look at the model, one of the things that I see about it that I think is so beautiful is really a marriage of you and the model. Like if you're not there, if you're not showing up, and the model doesn't really work. Like it really does value who you are, and takes into consideration who you are. And I just think that's so beautiful and powerful. So those are the things that we work through in the 12 weeks. And the phrase I kind of use is, I help you to get your kids to listen without yelling, threats, or punishment, because that's what we do in Language of Listening. And I also have this fantastic free group. It's called Love the Way You Parent on Facebook. So you can just search Love the Way You Parent on Facebook to kind of get in there. And I've got lots of free trainings and things. Or if you just want to go straight to chatting with me about my program, you can simply email me at lovethewayouparent@gmail.com. And happy to answer any questions that people have. And I have an email list that people can get free information on how to do these playtimes, more instructions, and a free PDF for starting to implement these 10-minute playtimes, 15 if you want, in your family life, yeah, to connect with your kids and also start to use the tools.
Amazing. Love it. Okay, before we wrap up our interview here, Rose, I want to ask you some random, just for fun type questions so our listeners can get to know you on a more personal level. Are you ready for our lightning
Yeah,
round?
sure.
Okay, here we go. What is your go to get shit done song?
Oh, right now, my go-to get shit done song is People Like Us by Kelly Clarkson. Um,
Yes.
yeah, there's just something about that song that like it helps me to connect with. I don't know if people have seen the video, but there's like a little girl in the video, and it just made me feel like I don't know, this connection that I've been able to make with the smaller version of myself, and so it really pumps me up when I think about like reintegrating, the child who I was with who I am now.
Yeah, I love Kelly Clarkson. Oh,
She's
she's
fantastic.
awesome.
Yeah.
Yes. What is your guilty pleasure TV show?
Oh gosh. The Office.
Yes.
It's
Yes.
so bad, but it's so funny. And I love the Jim and Pam love story. And my husband watches it with me. We watch it at night before bed. And so we're watching this series over again. I heard it got taken off Netflix in some countries, in the United States at least, but I'm in Canada, so we still have it available on Netflix here. So,
Oh, good. Okay.
yeah.
What book are you reading right now?
Right now, I am reading Atomic Habits by James Clear.
Oh, such a good one. Yes.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. Are you an introvert or an extrovert?
Introvert for sure. Need my time. Yeah, on my own for sure.
Okay. Nail salon, hair salon, or spa. You can only pick one place to visit for the rest of your life. Which one is it?
Hair salon. I do not like cutting my own hair. So it's got to be the hair salon.
Yes. Yes. Agree. If you could only eat one food for the rest of your life, what would it be? Calories don't count.
Twizzlers, red licorice. Give me all the Twizzlers.
Yes. Oh, I haven't had a Twizzler in so
Is
long.
that
Those are
right? Oh my God.
delicious.
Yeah, so good.
Okay, and what's your cocktail of choice?
My cocktail of choice. I just love rum and Coke. I think it's delicious. I really like the rum flavoring. So rum and Coke all the way for me.
Okay, great. All right, before we end our show today, can you tell our listeners where they can find you?
Yeah, for sure. So, as I said, I've got my Facebook group, Love the Way You Parent. Make sure that you're getting into the group there. I'm not super active on my business page. My group is where I give lots of free stuff. Love the Way You Parent at gmail.com. You can find me at Instagram at Love the Way You Parent with dots in between. And if you just want to read up about my program, it's afteraces.com, AFTERACES.com/Love the Way You Parent.
Perfect. All right, Rose. Well, thanks for being on the Mama Work It podcast show today. Loved having you here.
Oh, thanks so much for having me, Marissa. That was great.
You've been listening to the Mama Work It podcast. I hope you've enjoyed this episode and would love if you could take a quick minute to leave me a review on whichever platform you're listening from, and maybe even send a note to a fellow mama friend recommending it. Reviews and recs help this podcast grow and reach more like-minded, awesome moms. And if you haven't subscribed yet, don't forget to click that button so we can stay in touch, girl. By the way, if you haven't checked out the Mama Work It website, please do. There are lots of free resources and great articles there that can help you with the juggle of work life, mom life, wife life, fill in the blank life. So head on over. Thanks again for being part of the tribe. I'll see you soon, but in the meantime, keep on working it, mama.